Hey guys, it's Kaylor. Welcome to the YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to finish up our app website. Today, we're going to be coding it. This is part 2. We're going to be using HTML and CSS. And then I have a bonus thing at the end for you guys where we're going to implement some JavaScript. It's a Fullpage.js library, which is going to allow us to scroll like this, which makes a pretty cool effect. If you guys aren't interested in that, it will not keep you from following along with the tutorial. So like I said, we are going to be implementing that in the end. I'm going to have to structure the HTML in a way that will work. But as I go through, I will tell you what not to add and what to add if you're interested in adding Fullpage.js. So let's go ahead and get started. Make sure you download the project files. The link will be down in the description, as well as I will have a link to Fullpage.js if you're interested. So let's go ahead and get started. So as usual, here in brackets, I have the index.html and the main.css open. I do quickly want to show you the project file. So it will look very similar to this. I will include everything you need set up for you for the plugin if you want to use it. So in the folder itself, I have the index. I've also grouped the CSSs together in a folder called CSS. So you want to make sure that you link this properly. Usually I don't have the CSS file in a folder. So then we have the images exported from Adobe XD, and then these other two folders are for the plugin, and that's just to keep everything nice and organized. So let's go ahead and code. I'm going to go ahead and set up my doc type, HTML, and then open and close the HTML. Head tag with a title. For this, we'll just call this Meetings app. Call it whatever you want. Now the head is going to start very simple, and then later when we implement the kind of JavaScript library, we'll have to add several more links. But for now, I'm going to go and just put the bare minimum for the HTML and CSS in. So first up is the meta for the character set, UTF-8. Then we need a meta for the viewport. If you're going to make this responsive, you're going to need this. Content width equals device dash width, comma, initial dash scale equals 1.0. Then we can link to the style sheet, link rel style sheet of type text slash CSS, href, and then in my CSS folder, I'm going to link to main.css. And that's all we need for now. Next up is the body tag. Open and close that, and then we're ready. All right, the website itself doesn't have too much HTML, so I'm going to go ahead and write all of it, and then we're going to style each section individually. So if we take a look at the main.css, you can see I have global styling, landing, features, and groups. That's how we're just going to go through it. So for the index, I do have to set this up a certain way. So if you're not going to be doing the Fullpage.javascript, just exclude this first div, and the div is going to be an ID, not a class, sorry, of full page, and then all of our content needs to go inside of that. Also for that library, we're going to have to give everything a div with a class of section for each page of the website. So each page of the website is going to go in a div called section. So the first page or section is going to be called landing. So I'm going to give that a div with a class of landing. And inside of this, I'm going to give another div with the class of landing wrapper. This is also where our navigation is going to go because it's going to be inside of that first page because we're not going to fix it at the top. So I'm going to have another div with a class of nav. Below the nav, we're going to have a div with a class of landing content. And this is where both of our sections are going to go for the website. So let me go ahead and load that up. So you see on the landing section, we have the navigation up top, and then we have this left section and the right section. So this landing content, we're going to set to flex, and then we're going to have two things inside of that to set the left side and the right side. So let's do the nav first. So inside of that div, I'm going to have an A tag, href, and pound symbol that out. Inside of that, it's going to be an image tag with a source of images, logo.png, and then you can add an alt tag of just logo. Then I'm going to give this a class of logo as well. Then we have the pages that go on the right side of the screen, and that's going to go in a div called pages. And those are going to be an A tag, href, pound symbol that out. And we're going to have 4 of those. So I'm going to hit Command D and duplicate that 4 times. The first one is how it works. And then app features, about us. And the last one is a sign up button. So I'm going to apply a class to this, a tag called button1. That's it for the nav. So inside of the landing content, we're going to have a div with a class of content left. And then I'm going to duplicate that and rename this one content right. Inside of content left, we have an h1 tag for the title. So I'll paste that in. We also need a break after a schedule. Below the h1, we need a p tag. Paste that text in. And I'm going to break this up exactly where the design shows it breaking, just because I like to have everything to be exact. Then we need one more p tag. On this one, there is a break before App Store. Then below that p tag, we need an a tag for the button. It's going to be href, and I'll pound symbol that out. I'm going to give this one a class of button2. And the text is going to say download app. And that's all we need for content left. On the right, we just have one image of someone holding the app in their hand. And so we're going to link to that with an image tag and give that a source of images. And then we can go iPhone in hand. I'll give this one an alt tag of iPhone X in hand. And we can also give this a class of iPhone hand just to target that later on. And that's all we need for this entire div. So below that, I'm going to find my section, which is down here, and I'm going to enter and create a new div with a class of section. So this is for the second section or second page. Let's also make some space down here, just so you guys don't have to look at the bottom of the screen. So in here is going to be our second section of the website, which is called features. That is this right here. And there's a few ways you can code this. I actually just had this as an entire image, except the text and the icon, and this text and icon. And the reason I'd done that is because I was thinking about what would be easier for someone to maintain and build, and creating these as actual HTML elements, these lines pointing to this image, is going to be harder to adjust if you're going to make this responsive than just adjusting these texts. I think that's the best way to do it. So let's go ahead and start off this section, and this is going to be a div with a class of features. We don't need a whole lot in here. Inside of this, we're going to create 2 divs with a class of date for the first one, and then I'll duplicate that. And the second one's going to be named time. Inside of date, we need one image for our icon. So I'm going to do an image tag with a source of images, and then we'll say cal_icon, and then alt, we'll say calendar icon. Below that, we need an h1, copy in that heading, and then we need a p tag. Copy that text. It breaks at check. Paste that, and then after check, we'll put a br tag. And we just need to follow that same structure for the time class. So inside of here, first thing we need is an image with a source of images, and then this one will be a clock icon, alt clock icon, then our h1, not h12. And then we'll copy that text, running late, paste that in, and we need a p tag. So we need to break after need to and will be. So we'll do our first break there, and then will be second break. And I think that's it for that entire section. So I'm going to find my section div and click on that and go below it and create another one, class of section. And then we'll do a div with a class of groups. And this is going to be our final kind of page. Inside of this one, we are going to need a wrapper. So I'll do the same thing we did for the landing section and give that a class of groups wrapper. Now we're going to need 2 div tags. The first one is going to be groups content. And then Command D to duplicate that. And the second one is going to be for the footer. So the same thing we did with the navigation. This is actually going to be inside of this section's grouping. So inside of groups content, we are going to be applying a display of flex to this. So we're going to do the same style where we have 2 divs. And I'm just going to duplicate that. First one is content left. And then content right. So these 2 divs and this one right here and right here will all share the same styling because they're the same class name. So I've kind of intentionally done that so it can save us time. Inside of content left, we're going to need an image for our icon, and that's going to be our search icon. So right here. And then we're going to have an h1, 2 p tags, and then on the right side, we'll put in our image. So for the image, we'll have a source of images. And I can't remember exactly what I titled this. Maybe search icon. Yeah. And then alt, just do search icon. And below that, we'll have an h1 tag. Grab that text really quick. Paste that in. Then we need our first p tag. We need a break at whole. So I'll put a BR tag. And then we'll put one more p tag in here for the final bit of text. And after seamlessly, we need a break. So let's find that, a BR. Again, these BRs are not completely necessary. If you guys don't want to break right here, you can just let the CSS do it for you. I'm doing it just because I like everything to match my designs perfectly. Okay, so I think that's it for content left. So in content right, we just need an image. So image tag with a source of images. And this one's, I think, people underscore groups. Yep. And then we'll give that an alt of contacts list image. Then we can also give this one a class of groups image so we can style that later on. Then all we need is the stuff for the footer. So let's go inside that div and we'll do a p tag for the copyright information. Just going to paste that in. Then I'm going to do a div and we'll just call this pages right. This is going to be terms and privacy. So we'll put those in an A tag with href, pound symbol that out. And the first one's terms, duplicate that. And the last one is privacy. And that's actually it for the entire HTML for the website. So I'm going to click my live preview button, which is this lightning bolt in the corner. And we're going to see this jumbled mess of a website. Yeah, so here's our navigation. You can't even see the logo here. Got our text, 2 p tags, our button, our image. That looks good. Got our icon, this grouping here, the second grouping, icon, search friends and groups, 2 p tags, this, and then we have these links. Okay, so everything looks good from first glance. So let's go ahead and move on to the CSS. So to do this, so we can actually see what's going on, let's open this up. Let's scale this in a bit. And I'll try to not move this too much. But I want to move it so where you guys can actually see what's going on. A few of you suggested that I do that so you guys can actually learn a little bit more. So I guess we can just collapse this entire thing for now. Actually, no, I'm going to reopen that. How do I do that? I don't remember. Show sidebar. There we go. Okay. Just in case we have to reference the index, I'll kind of like half show it here. All right, I always like to do a browser reset at the beginning, and that's just with asterisk. And then we'll open that up. And we'll apply some general stuff. So margin, we're going to set to 0. Padding, we're going to set to 0. Border, 0. Outline, 0. Font size, 100%. Vertically aligned to the baseline. And then a background tag set to transparent. I think I spelled that right. All right, next we're going to go to the HTML and we're going to set the font family. I always like to say in my videos that I am using a local host, so this will work. But if you're going to add this to like a server and make it a real website, you're going to need to embed this or use something like Typekit. So we'll just do circular std. You'll notice my font just changed. And if that is not available for some reason, I always like to have a sans serif backup so it will pick something already on the user's computer. So next, I'm going to adjust the backgrounds and kind of the height of the landing section features and grouping. So we'll do landing first. So landing, and then we need a background, and we're going to do an image of a URL, and we need a .. / to go up a folder since we're already in a CSS folder. And then we need to go in our images folder, and then BG01. And then we need to apply some background styling. So we'll do repeat first. We don't want this to repeat at all. Then we need the size, and I'm going to do cover. And then we can do the position and center that up. For the height, I'm going to do 100 VH, which is the viewport height. And then the width will be set to 100%. Overflow on the Y value is going to be hidden. So if anything overflows, we want to hide that. Next up, we can set the min height to 600 pixels. That's going to keep the website from completely breaking on the Y-axis here. Okay, so that's it for landing. So next is features. Open that one up, and I'm just going to copy this entire thing and paste that in. Change the BG to BG02. And then all we need to do here is add position relative, because we're going to be having two things in here that are absolute, so they need to go off of something. So we'll set that. The last one is .groups, and then we can just copy all of this and paste that in. And then we need the position relative in here as well. Then we'll change the image to BG03. Let's see how that's looking. So you'll notice that this section is now full width and height of the browser. Then we can scroll down to the next section. That's coming in nicely. And then the last section, we've got that set up. Perfect. Let's style our fonts next. Let's do the H1 first. Font size, let's set that to 36 pixels. And then I'm going to add a margin to the bottom of 10 pixels. So we can have some spacing in between the P tags below it. The P tag is up next, and let's set the font size on this one to 18 pixels. And I'm going to lower the font weight because it's a little too bold. And I'm going to set that to 100. Let's also do a margin on the bottom of 20 pixels. That'll fix the spacing right there. And then in the design, I have the opacity lowered just slightly to separate out the colors. So we'll just do that as 0.8. The A tags for the links are next. So A, we'll set the font size on this one to 16 pixels. So just slightly smaller than the P tag. And that's all we need for font. Now we have two buttons. We have the first one for the sign up button, which is right here, and then this download app button. So the first one is button 1. For this one, we're going to need a border of white set to 2 pixels, and I'm going to have that solid. Border dash radius is going to be set to 100 pixels. And then for the padding, I'll do 0.6 EM and then 1.75 EM. For button 2, we're going to do something similar. Let's set the background color first. Background color. Color code on this is 1F2122. The border radius is going to be set to 100 pixels again. Padding, I think, is the same. Yep, 0.6 EM by 1.75 EM. And I'm going to display this as a block. And I'm going to set a width of 160 pixels. Since this is the only button in the button 2 class, I'm going to apply a margin to the top to get some more space in between the bottom of this P tag. So we'll say margin top. And let's try 40 pixels. That looks pretty good. Then we can align the text, so text align center, and it looks like that. We'll change the colors on these links later on. That's all we need for the global styling. All right, for the landing section now, I'm going to start with the nav. Let's set the padding on the top to 3M to give us some space. That's all we need for that. Let's make some room here. All right, so pages is up first, so dot pages. And I'm going to float this to the right. And then we'll text align that to the right as well. Let's target the A tags of the pages now. So let's move this over so we can see. So dot pages A. And let's set the text decoration to none. So we can get rid of that underline on that button. The color needs to be white. I'm going to add a margin to the left of 25 pixels so we can have some spacing in between each of them. That's about 50. And then we can vertically align this to the middle. For the logo now, so dot logo, that's why we added that class. I can set the width on this to 160 pixels, and then we can also vertically align this to the middle. The dot landing wrapper, I'm going to set to a width of 88%. Again, kind of a random number just to match the design that we had, kind of exactly. And then margin is going to be auto. So that's going to center everything up with some spacing. Dot landing content. I'm going to set this to a width of 88%. On the margin, we're going to need some space below our navigation. So let's set the top to 150 pixels. So the right also needs to be auto, the bottom needs to be 0, and the left needs to be auto. And then we can display a flex on this. That's going to directly affect this image and this group here. So now we can target the content left and the content right. And you'll notice that my browser just scrolled down since we have that down here, so I'm gonna have to keep scrolling up. You could technically add this into the global styling if you want, but I'm just gonna leave it here. So on the left, I'm gonna set the flex to 0, space 55%. And on the right, we're going to set that to 0, 0, and 45%. Now we can target the image itself, so let's drag this over. And we gave this one a class of, I think it was like iPhone in hand or iPhone hand. So let's see if it's iPhone hand. Yep, that's it. Okay, so we're going to set that to a width of 420 pixels. And then a margin top of negative 55 pixels, just to bring that up a bit. Let's drag this back over. And we need to target all of these and set them to white. So I'm going to say dot content left h1 dot content left p and dot content left a. That'll target all of those. It's also going to target these down here as well. And we can set a color of white and a text decoration of none, which is going to target that A. And so we have this. Let me unselect here. So that's everything for the landing section. All right, so let's move on to the second section. We don't need a whole lot in here. We just need to position these two groupings and kind of align the icons. So first up is .date. And let's set this to a position of absolute. That is going to be relative to this grouping, which is in our, right here, relative to this. That's how we set that in the global. So we also need to set the top to 150 pixels and the left value to 11% to get that lined up properly. Might need to make some adjustment on that, but for now we'll do .time, and this one's also going to be position absolute. This one is going to be set to the bottom, so we'll do bottom, and then we need that 90 pixels above that. And then the right value, we'll try 15%. Okay. I think this one right here will line up when we get these icons in line, so we'll try that out first before we make any further adjustments. So we need the .date h1, the .date image, the .time h1, and the .time image. And we'll set them to display inline block. And then vertically align that to the middle. Now, if you'll remember on our H1, we have padding on the bottom, or margin rather, of 10 pixels. So we need to apply that to the icon to more center that. So let's going to go ahead and do that right now. So .date image and .time image, margin to the bottom of 10 pixels. And you'll see that now aligns perfectly centered. And then I'm also going to adjust the width on these to make them a little bit smaller. So 36 pixels. Perfect. Since we have these in line now, this is off, so we need to push this over. So I'm going to target the .date p, and we'll also do the time at the same time. So .time p, display of block, and then margin to the left of 44 pixels, which kind of visually aligns that perfect. So that is the entire second section done. Not a whole lot there, but it looks pretty good. So now we just need to do this third and final section. First up is the groups wrapper. And we're going to set the width to 88% and the margin on this to auto. Then we're going to set the groups content to a width of 88%. And then a margin of 150 pixels on the top, auto on the right, 0 on the bottom, and auto on the left. This is the same thing we applied up here in the landing section to get that spacing here. So we're just doing that down here. Then let's also set a display of flex to get everything nice and aligned. After that, I'm going to set the content left image and the .content left H1 to a display of inline block, and then vertically align this to the middle. And that is affecting this up here, but it's not going to do anything. Then the .content left image by itself, and put a margin of 10 pixels on the bottom. Also going to set a width of 36 pixels on that icon. Since we put those in line, we need to push this text over. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to say .groups content, and then I'm going to use a greater than symbol and select the content left P so that it's not affecting the P's up here. And I'm going to margin left of 50 pixels. I missed a T in groups content. There we go. All right, so now we can go .groups image, and that's the grouping image over here. So let's drag this over so we can see. And on this, I'm going to set a width of 500 pixels. And to position this, we'll do a margin on the top of -50 pixels, just to bring that up a bit. So now we're getting that. Last but not least is the footer. So we'll say footer width of 70%. Then we'll need to position this absolute. And I'm going to put the bottom of 0, the left of 50%. And then we're going to need to transform this. And I'm going to translate it -50%. And this is only going to be on the X value. So translate X -50%. Then we can do the WebKit form of that. So WebKit dash transform, and then translate X -50%. So we just kind of visually aligned that in line with this. So now we can change the color. So .footer P, a color of 454D 4E. That's a light bluish gray, actually a dark bluish gray. and then display of inline block. Then we have a grouping for terms and privacy, and we're going to need to float that. So I'm going to target that now. Pages right is what we called that, and float to the right. All right, something I just noticed down here, this is not working properly. And the reason for that is in the index, I forgot inside of the pages right and the footer, we have to set this to a p tag. So terms and privacy need to be in p tags. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. Sorry if that makes anything confusing. That should fix everything up here. And then we can say pages right p, margin left 25 pixels. And that should be the entire website coded with HTML and CSS. So we have the landing section. We can scroll down to the next one. Easily set the date, running late, okay. And then the groups and friends. And we've got the footer on the bottom. That looks really nice. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into the library for the full page scroll and make this scroll pretty cool. So I'm gonna show you how to do that now. So this is what I'm using. This is Fullpage. Like I said, I found this and wanted to try this out. So it's gonna give us a lot of cool things that we can do. You can see here, you can even do a slider. And you guys can play around with this all you want. So I'm gonna show you how to implement this into what we just built. So if you go to the docs, that's gonna take you to the GitHub. And it'll take you through the instructions. You can donate to the guy who created this if you want. It'll say that you need jQuery library. So we're gonna do a CDN for that. And I think he's using Google, yeah. So we need to include all of this right here, the including files. So I'm just going to copy this. I'll have a link to this GitHub right here in the description right below the project files so you guys can copy everything over that I am. So I'm going to copy everything from the including files. I'm going to go into my head tag. Below my style sheet link, I'm just going to paste that in. And let's just make this look good. We'll tab all that in. All right, and then we just need to make sure all of our file paths are looking good. So the first thing is the CSS link. You'll see text/CSS, and this is in a CSS folder for me. So I'm gonna put that extension on there, and you'll see that I already have that in the folder. So I'm gonna pull this up. So like I said, I'll include in the project files all these files for you. So all you need to do is add the code in to link to them. So this is already gonna be in the CSS folder for you, as well as the JavaScript, and I'll include the vendors folder too. So we've linked this to the CSS jQuery Fullpage.css. That's good. This is the CDN. That looks okay. Here's linking to the vendors folder. Since we have the folder named vendors just like this, that will work properly. Again, the vendors folder. Here is the JavaScript file. We have that in a JS folder. So I'm going to put JS/, and you'll see there's the path. So everything just linked up properly. So that's all good. So I'm going to save that. We can go back to the website. Scroll down, it shows you how to use this. So this is what we did with the ID of full page, and all of our content is inside of that, with each page or section being in a div with a class of section, and then all of our content is here for each of our 3 pages. Then it goes over some other stuff if you want to include some slides. But right here, the initialization, this is what we need. So I'm just going to copy the simple one. If you guys want to get all complicated, you can copy this and play around with the looping, and there's quite a few plugin features that he has in here. It's a really, really nice library. So I'm going to copy that, go into brackets, and then just right below this last script before the closing head tag, I'm just going to open up a new script, and then I'll just paste this in. Just tab all that out, make it look nice. And that's going to call the function for full page to actually work. Okay, so now that we've done that, that should be everything you need to get this working properly. If you guys have any questions, leave them down in the comment section below. I'll try to get to all of them and help you guys out. But just make sure that you link everything up properly and you include the initialization with this script right here. So after you've done that, hit Command S or go up to File Save. And then I'm going to close out my live preview and reload it so everything is fresh. Let's just close these old ones out. If I scroll down on my trackpad, you'll see it automatically scrolls to the section for me. and then it scrolls back up, and it looks really nice and adds a lot of feel to the website. All right, guys, that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the HTML and CSS for this website, as well as including the Fullpage.js in there. If you guys want to see anything else added into this series, let me know down in the comments below. I know a few of you guys have been asking for some responsive designs, so for some of the videos, I will do that in the future. Also, if you guys want to see any type of website, like a movie website or just whatever you guys want to see, let me know down in the comments below. So if you guys enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more UI related content, and as always, have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.